you're a buyer, it looks a lot better for sellers to know that you are actually pre-approved versus just pre-qualified.
I dream it, I work hard, I grind till I own it. I twirl on them haters, albino alligators, El Camino with the CeeLo, sipping Cuervo and no chisa. Sometimes I go out.
What is up, y'all? Welcome if you're new, and welcome back if you're not to my channel. My name is Tyanne, but a lot of people call me Taj, and I am a licensed realtor. Licensed realtor. And I currently service the Fort Jackson / Columbia, South Carolina area. So if you or anybody that you know are military affiliated and maybe PCSing to or from Fort Jackson, or not military affiliated and just relocating to or from the area, I am your homegirl for all of your real estate needs. But wait, Taj, I don't live in the state of South Carolina or in Columbia, South Carolina, but I am interested in buying, selling, or investing in a piece of real estate. Don't worry, I still am your homegirl because my geographical network expands across all 50 states, and I can definitely connect you to a lender, help you get pre-approved so you know exactly how much home you actually can afford, and then refer you to a trusted, knowledgeable, and professional realtor in your area. So yeah, even if you ain't here, I'm still your homegirl, literally and figuratively. Now that we got the shameless plug out of the way, if you clicked on this video, it's probably because you're either going to purchase your first home or maybe even sell your first home, right? But in each of those transactions, there are going to be a ton of terms that if this is your first time, you probably don't know the definition of, right? But don't worry, your homegirl got you. So I have put together a list of 20 real estate terms that you need to know if you are buying or selling a piece of real estate. This video might be a little bit long, and I'm going to make it go as fast as I can. There are plenty and many more terms that I feel like you guys should know regarding things more so on the lender side. Don't worry if you don't know what that is. That's one of the words. But these are just the generic 20 that I think that every buyer or seller should know the definition of. So without further ado, let's get into the video. The first term that you as a buyer or a seller need to know if you are going to buy or sell a piece of property is an appraisal. And an appraisal is just the professional opinion of a property's market value. The second term that you as a buyer or seller need to know in every real estate transaction is closing. It's everybody's favorite day, right? But what actually does closing mean? Closing is actually just defined as the delivering of the deed, the signing of the promissory note, and the disbursement of all necessary funds. So in other words, closing is just the finalization of everything, and it's where everybody figures out where all the money is going. The third term that you as a buyer or seller need to know for a real estate transaction is a contract of sale. And a contract of sale is just a contract between a buyer and a seller of a piece of real estate that conveys title. The fourth term that you as a buyer or seller of a piece of real estate should know for every real estate transaction is a deed. And a deed is just a written document that proves ownership of real property. The fifth term that you should know for every real estate transaction is debt to income ratio, also known as DTI. And DTI is simply just a ratio of your monthly debt payments to your monthly income. The sixth term that you should know for every real estate transaction is earnest money. And earnest money is just a deposit made by a buyer to a seller to show good faith and intent to purchase a property. So it's just money that you put in escrow to prove that you're serious about purchasing this home. And if you don't know what escrow is, just hang tight one second. The seventh term that you should know if you're interested in buying or selling a piece of property is equity. Equity is just defined as the difference between what a property is currently worth and what's owed on the property. So you would subtract however much your property is currently worth minus how much you currently owe on the property. That difference is the equity. The eighth term that you should know if you are interested in buying or selling a piece of property is encumbrance. And encumbrance is just defined as anything that affects or limits the title to a piece of property, such as a mortgage, such as restriction, or even something as simple as an easement. The ninth term that you should know for every real estate transaction is escrow. I told y'all we'll be right back, right? An escrow is just money deposited with a third-party company, usually an attorney company, to hold money for safekeeping. So if you put your earnest money down on a property, that money is 9 times out of 10 put into an escrow account that neither the buyer or the seller have access to. That third party holds on to that money until the day of closing, where that money is properly dispersed where it needs to go. The 10th term that you should know if you're interested in buying or selling a piece of property is FSBO. FSBO, and it's just defined as for sale by owner. So as a buyer, if you see a home listed anywhere and it says FSBO, you know that that specific seller does not have a realtor representing them and they are selling them that home themselves. The 11th term that everyone should know for a real estate transaction is HOA. HOA stands for Home or Condominium Owners Association. And what they are is just a nonprofit corporation that manages the common areas. So if you live in a subdivision that has a HOA, those are the people that you pay your monthly or annual HOA fees to manage the pool, the sidewalks, the playground. If you live in a condo, the gym, the clubhouse, those type of things. The 12th term that everyone should know for every real estate transaction is lender. And lender is just defined as a financial institution. In other words, whatever bank, credit union, private or mortgage company is going to be lending you the money to purchase this home. The 13th term that everyone should know for a real estate transaction is market value. And market value is just defined as that sweet spot between the highest price that a ready, willing, and able buyer is willing to pay for a property, but also the lowest possible price that a seller is willing to accept for a property. So it's that sweet spot between the highest anyone's willing to pay and the lowest the seller's willing to accept. The 14th term that everyone should know for a real estate transaction is a mortgage. And this definition might blow your mind just a little bit because I guarantee you probably don't actually know what a mortgage is. A lot of people are under the impression that a mortgage is the actual loan, and that is false. A mortgage is actually defined as a legal document that pledges a piece of property to the lender for security for debt repayment purposes. So it is a legal document that pretty much says if you do not pay this money back to your lender, they can come and take your home. That is exactly what a mortgage is. It's not the loan itself. The 15th term that everyone should know for a real estate transaction is MLS. You're going to hear this very often, whether you're a buyer or a seller, and it just stands for multiple listing service. Think of it as the real estate professional version of Zillow. So all the homes that you see on Zillow, most of them are already in the multiple listing service. However, there are some that maybe are not live yet. So it's just the realtor access only version of Zillow. Just think of it like that. However, Zillow is also, FYI, a terrible, terrible place to search for a home. Get with a realtor so they can search in the MLS. The 16th term that everybody should know for a real estate transaction is a pre-approval. And a pre-approval is just defined as a written agreement from a lender to grant a loan for a home purchase. The 17th term that everyone should know for a real estate transaction, which usually gets confused for number 16, is a pre-qualification. There is a difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. And a pre-qualification is defined as just an informal, approximate calculation of exactly how much a buyer may be able to afford when it comes to a home purchase. So a pre-approval is an actual written letter from the lender agreeing to grant you a loan for a home purchase, whereas a pre-qualification is an informal calculation of how much you may be able to afford. There is a big difference. If you're a buyer, it looks a lot better for sellers to know that you are actually pre-approved versus just pre-qualified. Pre-approved means there is a lender that is willing to secure this loan for you. Pre-qualified means you may be able to afford a loan that size. See how as a seller that makes a big difference? Sellers, you want buyers that are pre-approved, not necessarily pre-qualified. Makes a difference. The 18th term that you should know for any real estate transaction is prepaid items. And prepaid items are just defined as costs paid at closing, where they disperse funds for taxes, insurance, and interest. So because these are all monthly occurring payments, they cannot be rolled into your loan, and they will be a separate item on your closing statement on the day of closing. The 19th term that everybody should know for every real estate transaction is real property. So normally you hear the term real estate, and there is a difference between real estate and real property. Real property is defined as land and all objects permanently attached. So things such as a fence, if you have an in-ground pool, if you screened in your back porch, those are things that weren't necessarily a part of the land originally or a part of the home originally, but they will be part of the sale when that home sells. So therefore they become attached and a part of the real property. The 20th and final term that I think everybody needs to know for every real estate transaction is title. And title can be defined as the written evidence of the right to the ownership of a piece of property. And that is the last term that I have for you guys. If this video was helpful, please give this video a big thumbs up. Share it with anybody that you know that are looking to buy or currently sell their home, because these are terms that both buyers and sellers all need to be aware of. And I hate when people are going through a transaction, so you're either buying or selling your first home, and that's the first time you're hearing these terms, because it can be quite an overflux of information, because this is just 20, and I could easily do another video of another 20 terms that you need to know for a real estate transaction. These are just the 20 that I think are generic across the board for buyers and for sellers, and that are super critical for you, the buyer or seller, to know well before you actually go under contract for your transaction. So comment down below, were any of these terms new to you? Do you know any of these terms? Better yet, comment down below, are you surprised that a mortgage is not what you thought it was? What did you think a mortgage was? Leave your definition down in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, because I drop real estate gems like this weekly. My channel is an array of real estate gems, day in the life of a realtor and serial entrepreneur. I'm an army wife, I'm a mom, I travel, I do a lot of things, and my channel is kind of just an array of it all. But most certainly you can definitely expect to get real estate gems from me. So go ahead and subscribe so you can be a part of the tribe. Because guess what? If you made it to this part of the video, you're already part of the tribe. You're stuck with me now. So you might as well come on over and subscribe and turn that post notification on so you don't miss my next real estate gem video. And until then, that's all I got for you. So I will see you, yes you, because you can come back and catch these melanated real estate gems. And I will see you in my next video. Peace, y'all.
I dream it, I work hard, I grind till I own it. I twirl on them haters, albino alligators. El Camino with the stilo, sipping Cuervo and no chisa.